Hey guys, what's up? This is Diego here at Cinemageddon Reviews. So, I hope everybody had a good end of the year and a good holiday season. I sure did. I had a lot of fun content to watch over the holidays, and one of those things was Hawkeye, the new MCU series on Disney+, which recently finished its first season, so as promised, let's talk about it. Now, just a heads up, this review is going to contain spoilers, so if you have not seen the show, or if you don't want to be spoiled, leave the video right now. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, here we go. In this show, Clint Barton returns to the fold as the superhero Hawkeye when he bumps into Kate Bishop, a girl with a similar talent for archery who gets involved in an underground criminal conspiracy on Christmas Eve. Hawkeye was never my favorite Avenger. I always just kept my eye on the big four: Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, the Hulk. Hawkeye was always just kind of in the background, doing his own thing, but I didn't really care that much about him. And then Black Widow came out, and they announced Hawkeye, the show on Disney+, and I gotta say that this show did meet my expectations. It didn't really blow them out of the water like No Way Home did, for example, but that's kind of an unfair thing to expect from a show like Hawkeye. I just expected to like Clint Barton and enjoy the show overall, and that's what I did. Right off the bat, my favorite part of the show was the relationship between Kate Bishop and Clint Barton. Their dynamic was a little bit predictable at first, but as the show went on, I did end up liking them a lot more. One of my favorite scenes on the show was when Kate Bishop helped Clint Barton talk to his son on the phone without his hearing aid. It was really sweet to see how that conversation unfolded, and it helped us sympathize with Hawkeye in a way that we've never experienced before. That leads me to how much I enjoyed how the show developed Hawkeye as an individual and explored his past a little bit more. He was obviously very hurt about Natasha's death following Endgame, and the show did a great job at illustrating how much pain he felt. And there were a few scenes where it was actually so touching that I actually felt some of that sadness myself. Now, let it be said that Hailee Steinfeld is one of my favorite actresses ever, and it's no surprise to me that she did an awesome job as Kate Bishop. She added a lot of really good humor and a surprising amount of heart to the show. In fact, there were a lot of people out there who were saying that Kate Bishop is the leader of the show and not Hawkeye. And they do have a point, because for a lot of scenes, she actually stole the spotlight. This is definitely as much her story, though, as it is Clint Barton, so it's not necessarily unwarranted, and I really hope that we get to see more of her character in the future. Now, there is a third scene stealer that I have to mention, and it's one that other reviews of Hawkeye haven't really touched on, sadly. It's the character of Lucky, aka Pizza Dog, who is played by a very talented dog named Jolt. The way he's incorporated into the story is very charming, and every scene that he was in made the story that much more wholesome in a very special way. And it also kind of adds to the Christmassy tone of the story, and the performance of the dog himself was obviously very good. People should really talk about that dog more often, and I really hope he makes an appearance in Season 2, because he's the goodest boy, man. The villains and the side characters on the show are also worth mentioning, of course. I cannot go on in this review without mentioning Alaqua Cox, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, who played Echo, and she was also fantastic. But there's also Florence Pugh, who returns as Yelena Belova after Black Widow, and even Vincent D'Onofrio, who returns as Wilson Fisk, which I was very excited to see. I think from a writing standpoint, the best handled of these three was actually Yelena. It was really interesting to see where she was emotionally with regard to Natasha's death, and while you absolutely don't sympathize with her desire to kill Clint Barton, you do really feel sorry for her. As for Kingpin and Echo, the show handles them very well too, except for the last episode. And I think the reason for this is because Kingpin's reveal was kept such a big secret until the finale, and because the show tries to establish this relationship between Echo and the Kingpin in just the last episode, it comes off as rushed because we don't have as much time to really explore that. It was, however, great to see Kingpin back, and from what I've read online, this is not going to be the last time we see him, and I'm really glad about that too, because it would really suck if we only saw him in this one episode of a show and then never again. Aside from that, one of the things that people were really happy to see in Hawkeye was the return to street-level superhero fighting. I myself was really glad to see it too. It's kind of weird that you get all these huge superhero movies nowadays, and you almost expect them to just go to space at one point or another because it's just so commonplace. But Hawkeye reminds us that even the MCU knows when to take a breather and just take things down a notch every once in a while, and it's good to get back to basics. Not to mention the fact that a good old-fashioned hand-to-hand fight scene never goes out of style, least of all in a superhero movie. With that being said, Hawkeye's first season isn't 100% perfect. I've heard some folks online say in their reviews that the first two episodes are a little bit slow, and the show doesn't really start to pick up until episode 3. And while I do agree that the pacing was a little bit lacking in those first two episodes, I was still entertained all the way through. My other big gripe with the show was that the fight choreography in a couple of scenes was a little too stilted. It just felt a little too safe, a little too watered down. There were a couple stunts here and there throughout the show where I just felt the stunt choreography was a little fake. Usually I could tell because of the way the camera work was handled, or maybe the stunt work moved a little too slowly and you could tell they sped it up in post. But I did feel that, especially in later episodes, starting with episode 4, this did improve a lot. And there were even a few stunts where I was like, ooh, that looked like it hurt. Overall, though, I'd say that if you weren't a fan of Hawkeye as an Avenger before, this is definitely the show that you should watch. This show has a lot of really good surprises in it, and it's a Christmas story set in the MCU. I don't think we've gotten one of those before. There is a lot to enjoy in this first season of Hawkeye, and I can't wait for next season. So with that said, my rating for Hawkeye Season 1 is 8.5 out of 10. So if you have seen Hawkeye, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. Do you like the show? Are you looking forward to next season? And who's your favorite character on the show? Let me know in the comments. Now stay tuned, you guys, because up next I'm reviewing The Witcher Season 2, and then finally I'm reviewing Spider-Man 2, so stay tuned for both of those videos coming very soon. As always, be sure to like this video and subscribe, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and please support our Patreon, we really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Diego for Cinemageddon Reviews, and I'll see you on the Wasteland.